Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Music of the Week. Not really a lot to go through. Well, there's 6 albums to go through, but that's about the average, so I'll go through them as quick as I can manage. We begin with Crowded House and their new album Gravity Stairs. Now, this is a band I'd heard about before. I didn't know they were Australian though. I always thought they were English. I've heard like one of their songs before, I think. I'm giving this one a B minus, which is tied for lowest grade of the episode. Quite sassy, now it's a good one. I quite liked it. I thought this was fairly charming and inoffensive indie-leaning dad rock. I quite like that about it. It knows exactly what it is, and it's got really, really good themes revolving around love and nostalgia and fatherhood too. I think the band themselves do actually put in some really good performances. I think the production is really solidly handled too. I think it's a little bit blurry, excuse my finger popping there. I think it's a little bit blurry in terms of the production. It can bog down the sound a little bit on occasion, and the pacing does kind of suffer from a bit of a lack of urgency. But I will admit the riffs are pretty inventive, and yeah, I don't really have many complaints about the album. I just think it's a little bit. It does lack a little bit of bite, but it's ultimately harmless, you know. It's not really an album I can say anything bad about. It's got really good intentions, and it lives up to those, and it's a good album for a band of Crowded House's reputation, I think. So, yeah, all in all, relatively good stuff. Next, we have The Hope Conspiracy with their album Tools of Oppression, Ruled by Deception. This is a hardcore punk sort of act, and giving this one tied for highest grade of the episode, as well as the highest grade I can give any album, which is an A+. I fucking love this thing. I don't really have anything bad to say about it. Maybe, right, if I had to, because this is one of those things where I feel like I've had to for like the new albums by like Madigan Pussy and Bob Vylan and Piss Jeans. Albums I really don't have any negative things to say about. But if I had to, maybe, sometimes the songs sounded a little bit similar in places, but that's not a fucking deal breaker. All the pacing is really fucking good. Overall, really good build-ups to the big breakdown moments. Love the really good political themes of the lyrics with really good themes of racial inequality and greed and capitalism, just fucking hitting hard too. Really well written, very to the point. Performances absolutely fantastic. It's also worth noting, I thought this was a very new band. I know this is a band that's been around a while, and this is their first full album in 18 years. They broke up a couple of times since 2006, which was when their last full-length album dropped. So, the fact that this is their first album since then, yeah, no, it's really fucking good stuff. Instrumentation's really good too. Love how heavy the guitar and bass work and drum work is, especially. Production adds so much detail to those riffs, and performances absolutely fucking angry and passionate, exactly how I like my hardcore punk. Basically, if you want a good example, no, a perfect example, sorry, of what hardcore punk should sound like in this day and age, this is definitely the album for you. Fucking listen to it. Next up, we have what I think is the debut full length with Low Lives and their new album. Well, I say new, it could be the first one, titled Freaking Out. Now, I'm a little bit high on this one because of the fact that when I did a reaction to the title track back last year, I've got to start doing reactions again at some point. Maybe one on Saturday because I've got a plan for tomorrow in place. But yeah, I found out about this band while looking through the stuff that the other members of Lost Prophets got into. This is the new band by drummer Luke Jocko Johnson, and he commented on my reaction to Freaking Out, and he said I did a good job, and it kind of made me happy. I'm still giving this album an A+, though. I fucking loved this thing so much. Really good sort of grunge-leaning alt-rock. Got that really broody, angsty soul that I like, but also really, really catchy hooks. And the guitar work on this thing, oh my god, lead guitarist, one of the lead guitarists is also the lead singer, lead downer, and the other guitarist also does a really good job. Bass is really solid too, and Luke is still a great drummer. I do like the lyrical themes about helplessness and addiction and some love stuff, and it's not really the most happily written album. I will admit it can be a bit depressing at times, but when it sounds this good, I actually don't mind it. I think the production on this thing is fucking phenomenal. I can't remember who did the production, but they did a fucking really, really good job with it, adding so much like lovely little notes to the sounds that I think really fleshed out. Really, really good pacing too. I like how they do mix it up on occasion. I love the amount of guitar solos they squeeze in, which is really, really good for an album like this. And the band, especially Lee Downer, just have so much charisma and personality, and they make a lot of it work. And they put in their full fucking bollocks in, which is not really a phrase, but I've said it. Lowlays put their full fucking bollocks in this one. So if you like an album with full fucking bollocks and also just really good alt-rock grunge, give this a go. Next, we have Say Anything with their new album Is Committed. Now, this is only the second album in a row, technically, I've listened to by them. Although it's worth noting that it's been 20 years since their second ever album, which was Is a Real Boy, which I had a chance to listen to and review at some point late last year, and it still holds up as one of the best emo albums ever. I'm giving this album a B minus, right? And the reason is I don't hate this as much as most people do. I don't think Max Bemis is a terrible singer. I think he's still giving it as much as he can. I think the production, it can be quite good if a bit blurry. The pacing has some weird, really weird choices, but what Say Anything album doesn't have weird pacing switches? It's always been a bit mathcore-ish in its approach, and I do like the riffs for the most part, but I feel like it's a bit self-indulgent and excessive, and also the lyrics as well. Why are there so many references to wanking and sex and cum? And why is Max... It feels like he's almost... Like lead singer Max Bemis, it almost feels like he's objectifying his wife in places. And it feels a bit weird. And I know that like he's come under fire for like some controversy stuff they probably didn't actually do because people are just so quick to jump on those fucking bandwagons. But like, you know, taking that aside from it, it's still a weirdly written album. But also, I think my main issue with it, and I did say this in my Discord review, is that it's unnecessary. You know, the band broke up in 2018, essentially, before they dropped Oliver Appropriate in early 2019. That album was a really good send-off, I thought. You know, if we're not going to get another Say Anything album, I mean, that made my top 30 of that year, for God's sake. The first year I started doing the top 30s, you know, properly. And, yeah, it just feels really disingenuous to have an album like this. Some people have said it feels a bit like a cash grab, although I've always felt like this band has been a bit too niche to really make a lot of money. Yeah, it's a weird one, so try and keep that in mind going in. It's still really good emo pop punky stuff, but again, it's a very divisive album, and I can see why. Next we have Thou and their new album Umbilical. This is a sludgy doom metal act from New Orleans, Louisiana, baby. And I enjoyed this quite a lot. But in a weird contrast to the album I just talked about with Saying Things Is Committed, which I didn't hate as much as most people, I wasn't as crazy about this as most people seem to be. I'm giving it a B+. I think it's really well paced and mostly decently written sludge metal with good performances. I think the production's a bit basic though. I don't think it really pushes things in any specific direction. I feel like the pacing can even sort of drag from time to time. Some riffs are a little bit repetitive, and I've just got my little necklace thing which doesn't fit my neck anymore because, you know, not because I'm fat, because of like the not thing yet that I've never been able to undo, and I did this shit. But also, it's just really fucking pessimistic and oddly esoteric. I really don't know what the album's actually supposed to be about, but every lyric I can read, I'm just like, I don't want to read it. It's you know, at least Lolo's were a sort of happy sad. This is just a fucking downer album at points, which, you know, you're not really going to get happiness from a sludge/doom album. I understand that, but again, I think it's got enough good stuff going for it. I think the band really does carry it. It's their first album in 6 years as well, so it's obvious they can still bring thunder. This is my first album by them, so I didn't really know a lot about them before this. And I almost dropped my necklace. I like, yeah, the performances are really good, riffs are really good, pacing mostly decent. Production I didn't hate, but there was nothing really to write home about, same with the lyrics, but I still think this is a really solid, as a sludge doom album on its own, it's really good. With other albums I've had to compare in a similar start this year, kind of pales in comparison to them, I'm sorry. And finally, we have the Troops of Doom with their album A Mask to the Grotesque. So this, if this band name sounds familiar at all, and I did look this up, the band took their name from an old Sepultura song, and the reason for that is because the lead guitarist of this band is named Jairo Guedes, I think. I'll correct it in post, which is always fun to do. Really solid death metal-y stuff with good thrash elements. Giving it a B. I thought it had some really, really good moments to it. Again, much like with Thou's album, if you're just taking this purely as a death thrash style album, it's got really good riffs, amazing solos. Way better solos than Thou had. I don't think Thou's album had any solos. I'm talking a lot shit on an album I gave a B+. I'm sorry about that. It's still really good. Yeah, really good solos on this, really good performances as well. And again, production doesn't really go anywhere. Pacing is a little bit repetitive, and the lyrics are probably my least favorite bit because, like, I saw an interview where the whole theme was supposed to be like an album about the outcasts, about the freaks who prefer to live in the dark, and the lyrics I could read are just anti-religious Christian, like anti-Christian or just anti-religion in general stuff. Yeah, weird lyrical theme. Mostly good everywhere else though, so I still recommend you give it a spin, especially if you just want like a really good death thrash album with really good guitar work. Yeah, good enough for me. Really good. And that'll about do it. Next, I'll do the official and unofficial ranking system that I know you all care about. So I would say at the bottom is probably Say Anything with Is Committed, then Crowded House with Gravity Says, then The Troops to Do with The Master of the Grotesque, then There with Umbilical, and very fucking difficult between the top two. I'd have to go with Lolo's with Freaking Out, and then The Hope Conspiracy with Tools of Oppression, Rule by Deception at the top. Ow, my elbow. But as always, go and listen to. I've cracked a lot in this video. As always, go and listen to all of these at least once because that's what makes the shit that we do interesting. Favorite album cover is pretty difficult, but because I just kind of like how it looks, I'm going with the Hope Conspiracy's album. I just think it's got a really good and simple design, and I like the placement of the album title because it's like sort of divided in half. I don't know, I just think it looks clean. Favorite song definitely goes to You Don't Care from Low Live's album though. Oh my god, what an album! What an album, but yeah, also what a song. Really good guitar work. Love the pacing of it. The guitar solo in it is just, and I think it was the last single that the band released before the album came out too. So, yeah, no, it's got some staying power even after that. So, recommend that. Recommend all this shit, really. That'll about do it for me though. Tomorrow you'll see me for a vlog. It won't be a very long one, but it will be a very important vlog. So, oi oi, and then tomorrow night, hopefully, heat of the moment. The last show we're doing 2K23. It could be pushed back to Saturday, but I am looking at tomorrow. We'll see. We'll see. But it's going to happen at some point this weekend, and I can't wait. So I'll see you all for that, and the vlog tomorrow. As always, thank you for watching. You're awesome.